just going over our golden cockerel now. So in Tai Chi, we try to achieve the most optimal position where we are using the least amount of energy to get into the safest formation. So those are pretty powerful phrases and tasks that we have to understand and then apply it to how our body can be used correctly. So one of the premises or one of the tenets, there are 10, says that we have to make sure that we shift our weight. So already with our warm-ups, we saw that we needed to shift our weight to ground ourselves to kick out on a weightless foot. So just stand there, and this is the shifting of the weight. So when you shift your weight, you feel your foot heavier. You also see that your knee on the weighted foot is flexed because you're storing that energy and allowing that insubstantial foot to be weightless. At the same time we're doing this, we have identified our center of gravity, which is called our Danten point. And everybody has it. It's a, I want to say imaginary, but it's a spot that you need to concentrate and focus on 2 inches below your navel. That center of the gravity has to be straight up. It can't dip forward, it can't dip back, neither can it sway, but either way. But it can, what? Ground ourselves and center ourselves a little bit more, however low you want it. But that center stays within your system. It's keeping you erect, it's keeping you safe. But once you waver from it, you're shifting weight, but you're shifting in the wrong way in that you're probably overstepping and the center is here and you're pushing that center. Therefore, you feel this unsteadiness on your feet. So you're going to have to come back up and center that. Helping you with that center is keeping your head straight up, your spine erect, your head erect, okay? Even though we're a rag doll and we've got our shoulders dropped. Along that line now, when we move, we have so many things within our body system that can help us. One is turning on our axle. Okay, put your finger up, your pointing finger. This is your spine. You can turn or rotate one way. You can turn or rotate another way. You can also advance. When you advance, the whole body advances. It just doesn't just tip this way or tip backwards or tip to the side. So that's within your power, okay? You also have a strong mind. The mind helps you concentrate and focus on what you're doing and process all the steps that you need to do to get your movement done, okay? So when we do our golden cockerel, we're also creating spirals. We don't want to just come up abruptly and do this and abruptly do this, because we're not giving ourselves a chance to process what needs to be done. We need to come down like a spiral. We need to swing up like a spiral. We need to come down and push down. We need to come up in a spiral rather than just jaggedly come up abruptly. So we're going to soften our movements to help us process our mind. When we're a golden cockerel now, the spirals, the shifting away, the slight turning on that axle, the pushing down, the pulling up, the counterbalancing helps us. We're not in any rush. We're not our goal, our task is not to get our high kick, but it is to study our body and to learn how we can be safe in our movements, okay? So here we go. So first off, good Tai Chi posture, dropping those shoulders, tucking the butt, hollowing the chest, chin slightly down, glance way ahead out into infinity, good thoughts, tongue on your palate. Opened up our span, shift weight to the left, spiral, center, push down, pull up. Soften your movements through spirals. One more set. Okay, kicking out now. We're at 50-50. We want to gather the energy, we want to center the energy. Our right hand is on the outside of the cross. We tuck the elbow in. If I didn't tuck my elbow in, I would have it out like this. But I want to gather the energy. I want to center it to the middle of our body. Middle of the body. Shift the weight. Spin slightly on the axle. Then kick out and follow with the hand. Follow with the eye. Come down and counterbalance that back hand, left foot coming up, kick out, left, down, shift weight, center, and out, shift weight, spiral, rotate on that axle, out, center, bring up that energy, out. Okay, I'm going to call it the last one. All right, reviewing now how we do our feet stance. Hands at our waist, okay, and when we have our hands at our waist, do not feel that you need to raise your shoulder. In fact, everybody raise it as high as you can, up to your ears. That's not good. You're locking your energy. Therefore, drop it all the way down. What happened? Your feet got heavier and your knees are flexed. This is the way Tai Chi is, dropping the shoulder. On a T stance, we're storing the energy on the right. Therefore, that knee can be flexed. This is the T. We're going to come out on an L, out and to the side. But the energy still stays within our right foot. Therefore, from the flat of our foot all the way through our system, we have to move that energy by turning our hips and waist, flattening down, and this is called a bow stance. In a bow stance, now the knee never can go beyond the toe. All right, everybody push that knee beyond the toe. And what is it making you do? You don't want to do that. You don't want to fall, so you're going to have to align your knee with your toe. The right or back foot is on a 45 degree, and you could have adjusted that when you made the turn, but never lock in. So right now, my knee and your knee should not be locked. But to test that, let's lift it up and keep it really straight and tight. That's locking your knee. You don't want to lock the energy within your system. Therefore, you relax it a little bit, but not too much. Okay, this is the bow stance. We're going to sit back and we're going to sit down on an imaginary stool. Why are we going to do that? We're going to try to get the weight off of our front foot to make it an insubstantial, weightless foot so it can pivot. But if we have too much weight on it, we're doing something incorrect, okay? So we're going to gather the energy, sit on that stool, and that back right foot is probably aching. The knee area is aching. Then we can twist on that insubstantial. The foot should be now parallel or on a line of the tile. Bring the right foot to a T. You notice that the weight is on the left now, so therefore the knee has flex in it. We're going to step out into the side on our heel. We're going to move the energy all through our system, flatten down, adjust that back foot to 45 degrees, and now we're in a bow stance. Bow and arrow. Okay, now we're going to draw back and we're going to sit down on that imaginary stool. Okay, we should remember that our finger is like our spine. It should be straight up. Allowing our right heel to twist, firm down, holding that energy, creating the T on a left foot, come out into the side on an L, move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. So don't get me wrong now. The turning of the hips and waist does not initiate the energy. The energy has to come up through. You should feel the energy coming from the sole of the foot. Sit back, sit down, flexing that right knee, twist step, root down, bear down on the left, T-stance, out and to the side. Then you're going to move that energy and unflex that knee, turn the hips and waist into a bow stance, okay? So this is what we have established to be our foundations for alignment of our feet. Then we went on to say that one of the next principles in our 10 essentials is that whatever the bottom of our body does should match with the top of our body. So we said, this is good, this is the foundation, but we now have to use our upper body to give us more support. So to give us more support, we said that we could hold our Tai Chi ball. And the Tai Chi ball has certain parameters. The top hand should be at chest level. The bottom hand should be 2 inches below your navel, allowing us to center the energy to the middle of our system. To disperse or to dispense or to generate the energy that's now stored in our right foot, we're going to have to help the bottom by enhancing the top. So if you could be like me, and I'll walk you through it. This is the T stance. You have energy on your right. You're stepping out on an L. You're moving the energy, moving the hips and waist. Bottom hand advances to come out to part the wild horse's mane. This is the finished movement of part the wild horse's mane. Here again we could check the knee not beyond the toe, the 2 hips aligned to the front or left foot, and the left hand is in that left position rather than in the mid position. The right hand is to the side of our hip as if it were holding another, like say a tennis ball. So you don't want that right hand to go to sleep and droop down. Here we go back now, okay? Choreograph says sit down, sit back, twist step. We need to center because all our weight's on our left. What do? Help ourselves by holding a ball. There, you feel a little bit more secure. To move out now, we're going to take an L stance, move the energy to the bottom of our foot, turn our hips and waist, split the energy, go up the horse's mane. Bottom hand advances. Sit back, sit down on that imaginary stool, twist step. Root down, center and help yourself with a ball. Step out, move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, store that energy, twist step. One foot is going to be weighted, so you're going to center yourself with a ball. Out on an L, move the energy from the bottom of your foot all the through. Turn the hips and waist out to the tips of your finger. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, L stance. Move that energy, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, center, L stance, bottom of the foot, move that energy, turn the hips and waist, part the wild horse's mane. Okay, so then we got a little fancier and we did other movements. So the one that we need to clean up now is the martial arts movement where we ward off our opponent. When we ward off our opponent, we use our forearm, okay? Can you touch your forearm? Either side. So we're gonna push the guy out. He's in our space and we wanna keep him at a distance. But in order for us to keep it in the strongest, most balanced position, we need to just give ourselves that space so that we are still erect. However, sometimes we tend to follow our hand. We don't need all that space, and plus we're going to be an easy prey to our opponent. We're already helping him. We want to bring this guy back and stay erect rather than follow that forearm. Okay? So then we're going to practice how to grasp the bird's tail. Grasping the bird's tail entails 2 sub-movements. Warding off by using our forearm and then bringing down the bird. Okay, so watch how I do it, maybe that will help. So I start with my ball, I center myself, I step out on an L, I move the energy, my bottom hand advances, turn my hips and waist, and I forearm my opponent. I pause for a couple seconds maybe, I turn my hips and waist, and these are my hands, palm to palm but staggered. I actually drag down my opponent, but gracefully I pull down the bird's tail. So how do I do that? I sit down, I sit back, and I turn my hips and waist. Eye contact, I turn my hips and waist, my energy now can push out. I come back and I sit down again because I need to store that energy for more power to lunge forward to push him out. But every time I take a sub-movement, my spine is straight up. I do not follow. I do not tilt. Okay? Watch the other side and then we'll try it together. Sit back, sit down, twist step. I'm going to ground myself and I need balance, therefore I need to form a ball to center myself. When I ward off, I'm in a T stance now. I need to come out on an L. I need to move the energy, turn my hips and waist, bottom hand advances to forearm. That's all the space I'm going to give him. If I give any more, I'm giving myself away. Then I turn my hips and waist, I reposition my hands. I didn't do anything with the bottom portion of my body except maybe, watch, turn my hips and waist, that's all, but my feet did not do anything. So I ward off, turn my hips and waist, as if to grasp the bird's tail, palm to palm but staggered. Don't come out this way, stayed where I am. And what did I do? How did I get back up down there? I sat down, I sat back. How am I going to get back? I'm going to turn my hips and waist. But that's all I need to do. Then I'm going to turn again. And at the middle of my body, I'm going to push him out. Separate the energy, roll back, and what? Push him down. Push him out, push him out. Okay, ready to do some pushing? Okay, so those are images for Tai Chi movements that are derived from martial arts. That's why even if Tai Chi is smooth and graceful, you are still building stronger core, you're developing muscles and strength. And Ken's reminding me to remind you that your hips need to be more flexible. That's how you're directing your movement. So don't be afraid to use your hips and waist because we've warmed them up really well. That is part of your core, okay? So T stance, holding your ball, right hand on the top, left hand on the bottom, 2 inches below your navel, whereas the right hand is at chest level. And you see that I'm not here yet, right? I'm pretty much centered towards the bulletin board wall, okay? The energy is in my back or right foot. I'm going to move into an L stance. The energy from the back elevates, goes through, turn my hips and waist, bottom hand advances to use my forearm to ward off, whereas the right hand sits to the side. I turn my hips and waist, I reposition my hands. How do I get back? I sit down, I sit back. I turn at my hips and waist. Eye contact at my wrists, turn my hips again, push from the center all that energy that's been stored, separate it, roll back and push him down, sit down. Push him up, push him out. Sit back, sit down, twist, step. What are we going to do? Helping ourselves to balance by centering with a ball. T stance. Step out on an L. Move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bottom hand advances to forearm your opponent. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands. Sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist to look back. Contact at your wrists, turn at your hips and waist, center of the body, push the energy through. Separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Again, twist step. T stance. L stance. Turn the hips and waist, forearm your opponent. Turn your hips and waist, reposition to grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn again, center of the body, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step. T stance with your feet, center with a ball for better balance. L stance, bottom hand advances to ward off or push out your opponent. Turn your hips and waist, palm to palm but staggered to grasp the bird's tail. Look back, turn at the hips and waist, contact, turn at the hips and waist, push from the center. Separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step, T stance, L stance. Move that energy, bottom hand, forearms. Turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn, push, separate, roll back, sit down. Spiral up, lunge forward. Other side, sit back, sit down. Twist step. T stance, help yourself with the center of the ball. L stance, move the energy, bottom hand, forearms your opponent, turn your hips and waist. Reposition your hands to grasp the bird's tail. Contact, turn hips and waist, center, push out. Sit back, sit down, spiral up, lunge forward. Twist step, T stance, hold your ball. Okay, so if you could extrapolate the parting of the wild horse's mane and the last one that we just did, grasping of the bird's tail, the feet were automatic. They did the same thing, but the movement required different things. But the patterning was the same. T stance, L stance, move the energy, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, twist step, root down, T stance, L stance, move the energy, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. So if you got really good and you did this and it became automatic, then perhaps then you would appreciate the upper body fixing up or enhancing what you've established on the lower. So to practice well is to probably take the two bottom and upper apart and then work it and then join them together. Then if you're saying, oh, something's not right, take it apart again and work the top, then work the bottom.